Today, we're talking about business automation with HTTP Sync Connector and make just a little bit of intro to who we are. We are Lenses IO. We're at the heart of event-driven development, and we offer the ideal developer experience for your multi-cloud, multi-Kafka infrastructure. And with us today is Ben. Make is a partner of ours. We're very closely connected companies working towards the goal of democratizing technology access and the capabilities that non-technical users have. So especially when it comes to automating a business process and working through API integrations with disparate SaaS offerings, as well as just technology platforms. Make does a great job of enabling work with data and develop data flows with their SaaS offerings. So I've been using the tool myself. It's a lot of fun and really easy to use. It's all UI driven, so you can just drag and drop different components and build some pretty complex business logic, all without any code. So large organization with 100,000 and backed by Salonis as well. Same here at Lenses, so we're all partners as part of the same process mining family. But today, we're talking about trends we're seeing in the market, which is data democratization of access, but as well as our HTTP sync connector. So some of the advantages here is commonly we'll see Kafka used in event-driven architecture referred to as an asynchronous API. API for a long time has been the lingua franca for application integration. That's part of what API means. And traditionally, we'd see something like this, where we have our microservices and they're connecting to other services and technology platforms like Salesforce, SAP, and mobile applications. So the issue here, one of the issues is that you end up with a very complex infrastructure, whereas all these services are integrated via point-to-point connections. That means they're tightly coupled. So with the whole novelty of containerization and your microservice running, relying on a point-to-point connection can introduce scalability concerns, as well as resiliency issues. If one service goes down, your whole network of services goes down. Enter event-driven architecture, where we have the novel infrastructure paradigm of producing to a distributed event log that is Apache Kafka. So we still have our orders microservice, but instead of connecting directly to Salesforce, it's producing to a Kafka topic that can then be consumed by a variety of applications and platforms there. With this, we get asynchronous messaging, but it's also real-time and event-driven, whereas everything that is consuming from that event log is then processing that data as it gets that message, instead of relying on a batch point-to-point process. We have the new HTTP Sync Connector. So here is what our attempt is to draw the line and bring both of these technologies together. So when you're trying to introduce event-driven architecture, when your entire organization has been traditionally built on an API flow, it can be quite a challenge to re-architect these applications and platforms to operate under the new event-driven paradigm. Enter our HTTP Sync Connector, which enables all of these external applications that are used to speaking the API language to continue talking that protocol, but rely on event-driven data. So in real-time data being pushed to your Kafka topic and then synced to our HTTP connector, which then sends that API call and request per Kafka message to these external source systems. Any questions about that? Happy to answer. And if not, I will turn it over to Matthias, who's going to help us walk through the demo of the HTTP sync connector.
Guys, I have big troubles to connect. I'm sorry. I saw you were struggling with my presentation, and I'm sorry about that. I couldn't speak. I couldn't interact. So sorry about that. But now I'm here. So hi everyone, just a little introduction rapidly and then I'll let you continue. So I'm Benjamin Poté, I'm a solution engineer at Make. I joined Make 2.5 years ago, and I'm here to talk about the Make part of the demonstration.
Glad to have you, Ben. Thanks for joining.
You're welcome, pleasure.
Let me share my screen and we're gonna go back to you pretty soon once I show the connector, Ben, so be ready.
Sure.
I think now you guys see the correct screen of Lenses, right? I think last time I showed the complete screen. My screen is a little big. We have any questions? If you have questions, feel free. So again, it's a demonstration part. Demonstrations like you always say, it's the dev environment, something can happen. So let's hope that everything is well, fingers crossed. And first, for those of us know, we show always the Lenses UI, this fancy Lenses UI, that we have all the control of a Kafka environment. So we go straight ahead to the connectors. And then I have a list of 100 connectors running this environment. I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to use the brand new HTTP sync connector on the sync category. So if I go here, this is yet not available to GA, but we're going to make it available soon. So be ready. It's only for this purpose. Let me pick it up my connector that I already have here. Copy. And I'm going to explain a little bit about the configuration side. First things first, when we use connectors and lenses, already have some goodies, in my opinion. Just if you go, just go back just pretty quick. I want to show you guys this. We can have all the fields that we can use for the connectors. So it's something pretty good to have. Most of the, we have to documentation, we have to know what we'll be doing. So it can be complicated. So the whole idea is to make more life easier. So I can go and just see the optional fields. I already have the field that I want to use. So I'm going to explain to you guys right now. So the name of the connector, the class, this is a new class, again, is not in GA yet. It's going to be in GA soon. So be ready. The configuration of my HTTP, I want to sync the topic information and I want to go to REST API. So I have the method that I'm going to use, in this case, put. I have the endpoint. I can have content base. I can add new content. I have headers and I have a batch information that I want to use. For example, some configurations that I can use for my REST configuration style. After this, I have classes twice. Let me just see if I copy something wrong because I have configuration twice. Okay, this is wrong. Let me remove this. Is this on? Almost get problems with the demonstration because one misconfiguration. So the connector configuration, connector class, if I want to restart, when we load it, topic name is an Avro topic that I'm using. So I have to specify my schema registry information URL. I have to say that is an Avro for my serializer, the serializer information. And then let's start this one. It's a small topic, it's not a big topic, so it's gonna be easy. So success deployed. Now, again, this is the part of fingers crossed. It's always when this is running, I say, okay, let's hope that nothing happens here besides the numbers and the green light. The green light is always good. The red light is always bad in technology. This doesn't change. So let's hope they keep the green light. I'm gonna refresh. And again, we test a lot, so I hope this happens. But even if we have 1,000 tests, something can happen. Okay, green light, the numbers I read 13 records, and I'm pushing to the endpoint that Ben is gonna show 13 new events. So Ben, I'm gonna pass to you. This is the configuration. Again, this is not available yet in Stream Reactor. It's gonna be soon, so be ready. As soon as we get available, you guys have been noticed. So for now, it's not in GA. Ben, I'm gonna pass to you. Let me stop sharing. If you have any questions, just throw in the chat. I'm gonna reply right away.
Yes. Thank you. So since the configuration is not completely done, what I will show you is how we can get the messages directly in Make and how we can use it to push it to a third-party application. So in that case, we'll use Salesforce for that. Let me share my screen rapidly. I will show you what it looks like. Obviously, I'm sorry about that. I couldn't take this opportunity to present Make, but let me give you a little introduction about Make. So Make is a no-code automation and integration platform. So it allows you to create any type of use cases. So we have customers that use it for marketing use cases, some for HR, some for ITSM. So any type of use case can be used with Make. We have the concepts of scenarios. So a scenario is an integration flow that happens. So we have different type of scenarios. We have scenarios that can be scheduled. They can reach data regularly. So we can set a scenario to execute every 15 minutes or once a day, or just the Tuesday at 8 p.m., for example. So you can define this type of scheduled scenarios. But you can also have what we call webhook scenarios. And this is what we showed earlier. So each webhook scenario has an HTTPS endpoint that you can send the data to. When I show this, if I say I want to create a new scenario, this is where I'd be able to define all the steps I want to go through. When you click plus here, you can see we have a list of 1,600 and more applications that we can natively integrate with. So that's why I will show you with Salesforce, but obviously the list is much longer. So really the goal is to grab data somewhere, to transform the data, to push it, to send a notification, to do anything you will need to create an end-to-end process and a real-life use case. So usually when we want to be called by HTTP sync, what we need is to listen for incoming calls. So the first step is to create a webhook. So you see here, when I type webhook, I have this capability to create a custom webhook. So this webhook, I will give it a name. Let's say HTTP sync calls, for example. We can define, we can make IP restrictions, so you can define some security parameters, etc. And when we do this, Make is able to listen to sample data, for example, in order to determine the data structure of what will be sent. So what we want to do from HTTP sync is to pass directly the payload of the data coming to the topic in Kafka, and then grab this information and push it to a different system. One of the main goals of this platform is to simplify these actions. So we don't need to care about the fact that it's JSON or XML or any other format. We let Make determine the data structure. So let me, just to make it rapid, let me show you rapidly directly with Postman. It will make it simpler. So you see, this is the URL that was created by Make when I created my webbook. This is the one I needed to give to Adam, for example. So let me show you what it could look like. So if I copy this address to clipboard and I go to Postman, here I say I want to post to this endpoint this body. So the body is raw, is in JSON, and this is the data that I want to send. So if I click send here and I go back to Make, so let's go back to Make, it says successfully determined. So when this is done, it means that now I can work with the data that I receive. So again, I did a test. I pushed some data with the format that is expected. And from there, I can build the next steps in my scenario. So let's imagine now I want to call Salesforce. So I will type Salesforce. So here, let me show you rapidly. I will just show you, I use a developer account of Salesforce with a few contacts. And the idea here is to be able to create a new record from the data I got from HTTP sync. So if I do create a record, now I'm connecting to my Salesforce account. I will select contact, so the contact object. It will retrieve for me all the fields that are required or optional for this object, so contact. So you see some are bold, some are not. So me, I will do very simple. I will just create first name, last name, email. So here, if I click on last name, I have a pop-up here that shows me the data structure that I received. So I use Postman. It would have been exactly the same if I had used the payload that HTTP sync sends. Exactly the same. So I can just get surname that I map directly to last name. I will do it also for first name. So you see there are many. So let's use email for now. And then I will just, to make it faster, I will search for first name. It will be faster like this. Let me see, first name. So it must be here. Okay, first name. So let me just map this one. Okay, so now I'm ready. So you see, this use case is very simple. Obviously, we could have made some search before to search if the user already exists in Salesforce. So we could do multiple things. We could also reply to HTTP sync to say everything's all right, etc. But you see, this scenario now, I make it available to listen to incoming requests, and I will call again the scenario with Postman. I click send, and I go back to my scenario, and now I see that I've been, my scenario has been triggered with some values, and this value has been mapped in the create record in Salesforce. So you see here, I have created a new record in Salesforce. So normally if I refresh, I should get the new name. So, okay, what was it? Just let me check. Let me check here. It was Xavier Dupont. Okay, typically French, right? Xavier Dupont is here. So it has been created. So the end goal, when we have configured the HTTP sync, is instead of using Postman, obviously, is to have HTTP sync call directly this endpoint with the same type of payload, so that every time a new message is sent to the Kafka topic, we immediately call make to propagate the data to another third-party systems. So possibly I will stop sharing my screen because possibly you have a few questions. You want to continue, Matthias, Olivier, Adam, or Guillaume, with the next part.
Yeah, I just want to summarize it's just a super cool integration point because now you're enabling for your organization the opportunity to integrate with all these back office event-driven architecture applications with some more
Exactly.
front office no code tooling. So for any integration that you can't find a Kafka connector for, but you're using Make and no code tools like Make, then you can just use a HTTP sync connector, a catch-all, send it to what you're comfortable with, and you can do so much with a tool like Make, which is I just think it's really awesome and it opens up a lot of possibilities for our customers. I do want to take a second and apologize to our audience for the technical difficulties with getting Ben on. And I know we had a little bit of a troll in the audience. We're taking measures to make sure that doesn't happen again. But Guillaume, were you going to add something to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so if we think about the number of connectors available in the community, Lenses probably has about 20 of them. There's probably about 50 or maybe 100 connectors available in the community, but Make, as we see, have hundreds of integrations with lots of different business systems and cloud technologies and so on. So by sending an HTTP event into Make, then they deal with all the downstream integration with a lot more business systems than is available as connectors in the Kafka community. So it's a super valuable, say, enhancement of what we've got available in the Kafka ecosystem. Just that integration with Salesforce is so much easier for us rather than using the Salesforce Kafka connector. If you like, just use the HTTP to trigger Make.
And we didn't even show the logic that's possible behind the scenes with Make too, because then you can add all kinds of transformations and filter gates as well. So sky's really the limit.
Yeah.
We also have the capability to implement some human workflows, for instance. So sometimes our customers want to validate any new entry before we add it to the CRM or to another system. You can add a much more complex logic where you ask, for example, let's say in Slack, for example, you ask the sales team to validate a new contact before it's entered into the CRM, or possibly to ask ChatGPT to make some further research or some further, some welcome text, for example, to the customer before we add him to the CRM, so that we can send an email to the new contact. So anything is doable, in fact. So what I didn't mention is that we called it automation, a no-code automation and integration platform, but it's also a no-code visual programming solution where we can build any type of use case. It can be my scenario with just 2 steps, but obviously we can make a 1,000 steps scenario with different routes, different filters, etc. So we can do a lot of things. So I think it's very complementary because thanks to Lenses and the HTTP sync, we open the world to the event-driven architecture to Make, because initially Make is more focused on calling APIs and orchestrating API calls. And thanks to Lenses, we can now listen to topics from Kafka and get into more global event EDA use cases. Say.
Absolutely. Phenomenal. And I love that term, development visualization platform. Super cool. Yeah, and somebody mentioned they'd love to see an integration with Kafka and Azure Data Lake Gen 2. Just so you know, that is in the works. I believe that's available right now on our Stream Reactor repo. We do have some customers using that today, and I've helped out with some configurations there, as well as the Google Cloud Storage Sync connector as well, and many more to come. This is definitely an increasingly area of interest for us ourselves and the wider ecosystem. So our goal is to be able to enable integrations with as many source systems as possible, including awesome platforms like Make. Thank you all so much for joining today. Definitely tune in next week where we'll be talking about local Lenses development, local Kafka development with Lenses Box.